out for my third ride on my brand new bike, and I remember why I stopped riding 10 years ago. This here was my neighbor, and she didn't see me, and trust me guys, it was a lot closer than it looks. The GoPro wide angle really doesn't show you how close it really was. Be careful out there, guys. Welcome back to the channel, hosers. Spectre coming to you with another video. My subscribers and followers will notice that today's video is a little different, and the reason I'm showing this is because I wanted you guys to know why I've been slacking on some of the firearm videos. We've had a little stretch of nice weather in March, so I've been getting out and about on this new bike that I bought. And for those of you coming to check out the bike, I just wanted to show you my Kawasaki Z900 and something that when I was looking to make this purchase, I couldn't really find too much information on, which is specifically, you know, the different power modes and how they change the feel of the bike. So if you guys are here just for the bike, I strongly encourage, take a look at some of my other videos. They're firearm related if you're into that. I'm a simple guy with simple pleasures. I like guns, girls, cars, and motorcycles, and you know, that's what I try to post. Unfortunately, I don't know much about either, but I have a GoPro, so you know, people can't stop me from making videos. So anyways, today we're going to look at my Kawasaki Z900, and I just wanted to give a quick update on the bike and why I chose this one. I used to ride a Suzuki GS500 10 years ago, and you know, it's a small little, I think 489cc parallel twin, putting out 45 horsepower at the crank, so you know, just under 40 horsepower at the wheel probably. And I rode that for a couple thousand kilometers, got my license, you know, did a bit of highway driving on it, mostly city commuting. And at the end of the season, I didn't really have anywhere to store it, so I didn't want to leave it in the backyard or pay for storage, so I sold it. And never really missed riding, just, you know, it was something that I always knew I'd get back into, but just couldn't justify the expense and the storage because of, you know, the small house that we live in. But last year with the pandemic, I decided, you know what, I'm going to get back into it, so that's my background. I just want you to know, before you start judging me for why I'm riding so slow and you know, maybe a little jerky and slow. I noticed in this video that I'm really slow on my turns, and that comes down to just, you know, not being confident in the tires yet. The bike was delivered to me with 0 kilometers, and I think this ride footage that you're watching is just under 100 kilometers. And you know, I know that they say that, you know, tires aren't slippery anymore because they don't use release compounds, but nevertheless, for the first 160 kilometers, I just thought I would take it extremely slow. So the reason I went with this bike over some of the 600s or you know, even smaller, was because of the rider aids and technology that the bike offered. I was worried that with a 300 or 400, or you know, like the MT-03, the Duke 390, or the Kawasaki Ninja 400, I was worried that I would outgrow that bike a little too fast if I went that route, because, you know, once you get your sea legs back and you get used to riding, and once it comes back to you, I was worried that that would be a little too small. So I was really looking at the 600s, you know, specifically the Z650, and or the MT-07. But the more I looked at them, the more I was drawn to the Z900, because with the incentives and rebate, it was only going to cost me about $1,800 more to get the 948cc Z900 that has, much more rider aids. And what really drew me to it was the fact that the rain modes claims to, curb power and throttle response by 60%. So, just based on numbers, 60% of the 125 horsepower claimed on the Z900 is 75 horsepower, which is right in the ballpark of, the MT-07 and the Z650 and even the Suzuki SV650. So I love that idea, plus the traction control. Now, I'm the first to admit that, rider aids are not going to make you a better rider, but I was a little apprehensive with not riding for so long, just jumping on a bike, and I figured, this 900 could essentially put me at the level of a 600, and I can grow into it by using the power modes. So as you see, this whole ride I'm in rain mode. In fact, I've only tested sport mode. I haven't even tested sport mode yet. I've tested road mode, which is full power but level 2 traction, and that was only on a straightaway just for a quick little acceleration spurt. So all of my riding, 200 kilometers I think in total right as of today, has been in rain mode. And I couldn't, when I was looking, I couldn't find any reviews about, how does the rain mode really throttle it down for people who might have a concern with it. And I will say it is mild. I asked a few questions on YouTube, and there were a couple guys who have this bike who commented and responded, and I appreciate that. Who, one guy said it best, and I don't recall his name. If I find it, I'll mention it in the comments. But he said with this bike, with it being an inline 4, you really have to ask for the power, and I can confirm that is 100% true. It's very docile. As you could see, my whole ride here is like under 5,000 RPMs. It starts flashing when it wants you to upshift at 4250, because that's what it comes from the dealer for the break-in period. So you could see I'm going extremely, low RPMs. I'm not really pushing it, and the bike is docile. It's easy to handle. There have been a few times where I've revved it out a bit, and it's not out of control. For some reason, I was worried. I was almost kind of thinking that this was going to be, like a leader bike because of its engine displacement. But of course, they're tuned completely different, and everything about them is different. The suspension, the gearing, and the engine tune. So it's not something that's going to buck you off and throw you around. So the rain mode really is not that bad at all. At 469 pounds, it is pretty heavy. So it takes, obviously you need self-control, but if you're going to pick this bike up, put it in sport mode and ride it like crazy, then yeah, obviously it's not for a beginner. But, that could be said about absolutely any bike out there. People get into trouble with Groms, for crying out loud. So if you respect the bike and the power, it is manageable. Like I said, I haven't rode in 10 years, and I picked this thing up, and I was going at it no problem. The assist clutch, it's an assist and slipper clutch, works great. So the idea of the big engine is, you might not see it right now, but I'm riding this thing in a high gear at low RPMs at relatively low speeds, and it's never stuttering or puttering. This thing, it has enough low-end torque that, it's not going to stall on you. Oh, right here, I took this turn bad. I remember I went way too wide. And again, that's just me being an idiot, because I'm afraid to lean over. I'm much better now after a few rides, and I'm starting to trust the tires. But, yeah, like I said, if you're in third, fourth gear, and you're putting around at 30, 40 kilometers, which is, 25 miles an hour, there's no hesitation. The engine doesn't mind. It's not, a case of it's struggling. And I like that, because this bike really doesn't require that many gear shifts if you don't want to. You know, I've seen people riding 100 and 120 kilometers in second, third gear, and you know, if you don't mind the 10,000 plus RPMs, you can do it. With my old Suzuki, again, you know, much smaller engine, that thing just was so lazy that you couldn't make lane changes without gearing down. And if you rode a low gears, it just so buzzy above 6,000, 7,000 RPMs that it was not very enjoyable. This inline four is really smooth. I don't think I've pushed it past 7,000, 8,000 RPMs. You know, I'd like to think I have, but I really don't think I've gotten that high. And I'm not looking at the speedometer. I'm just, you know, keeping my eyes up and twisting the throttle. So I really don't think I've pushed it that high. But I'm not getting any of the buzz that you would get from you know, a smaller bike. Very smooth, very refined. So I'm just trying to you know, get really accustomed to it and starting to feel what it can do and how it responds. My goal is to try to give it, you know, 50-60% throttle to see if the traction control kicks in rain mode. I want to see, you know, what it does if I grab too much. If it'll let the front wheel come up. That's something I was also worried about getting such a big bike. Is you know, you think with a big like practically a liter bike that it might be like the MT-09 where the front tire is on helium and just keeps wanting to come up. So that was a concern for me too. So that's why I was thinking with the traction control, you know, that might curb it from trying to come up. So I haven't got it to kick in yet. I tried to test the ABS, and so I went into the parking lot, and you know, I'm trying to do my ABS tests, and nothing's happening. So I'm like, okay. And then I come home and read the instruction manual, and it turns out ABS will only kick in at higher speeds. I believe it was like above 30 or 40 kilometers, and I'm here like at 20 kilometers, you know, barely 12 miles an hour trying to get it to kick in. So you know, I'm trying to build my confidence with this thing and learn more what it can do, and ultimately try to get to the stage where, you know, I could try to get a little power wheelie just to know what to expect. So anyways, guys, like I said, the purpose of this video was strictly to show you, for those of you out there concerned, is this or can it be a beginner bike? I mean, no, probably you should start with something smaller. I always think that's great advice. Start with something smaller, something that is cheaper, that you're not afraid to drop, something that if you make a mistake, it's not going to, you know, be amplified. However, you put this bike, like I said, you put this bike in rain mode and you give it the respect it deserves. Just mind your throttle. It's not going to bite you. You really need to twist that throttle. It has a very herky-jerky on-off throttle, and because of that, it almost feels like the initial little bite is somewhat muted, and then, you know, then it starts to creep up, and then it's not like you know, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It actually is really linear. So it's going to build until you know, it's not going to, you know, build slowly, and then the turbo kicks in like in a car, and all of a sudden you're at 10,000 RPMs. It's nothing like that. You really do need to ask for the power, and if you're asking for it, you shouldn't be surprised by it. So you give it the respect it deserves, and I think you can easily get away with this bike as a beginner or as a you know, somewhat like myself, you know, somebody who's had a little bit of experience, has their license, and is coming back to it. So I hope that helps. Hit me up if you have any questions or want me to do something else, and I will try my best to get back to you. Again, guys, I like motorcycles, but I don't know too much about them. So bear that in mind before you start commenting on all the stuff I got wrong, okay? I'll just quickly show you the screen. So right here, as you can see, this is later. It's 183 kilometers, white versus black. So I originally started with the black and then I went to white. You hold both buttons and you get into some of the vehicle menus, and you know, it's got the Bluetooth. So the Bluetooth, you install the Rideology app by Kawasaki, and it's a little annoying because you have to start the app and then you actually have to start on your phone the ride, and it keeps track of it, and it uses your GPS and drains your battery pretty good. So it's there. It's, you know, it's not bad. And here's just a quick look. And as you can see, it's you know, aside from the Amazon foot extension, which was like $30, works beautiful by the way, and the pink stripes that I put on my tires. Nothing goes good with blue, and says I'm a man, like pink stripes on your tires. Plus it was on sale. Go figure. Why was the pink stuff on sale? I don't know. I guess nobody buys it except me. So, and then I put the Pitbull spools and this little tank sticker. So, you know, nothing to it. I hope you can hear the startup. I really don't remember if this was a cold start or if I just finished. Let's see what the temperature says. I didn't get the temperature. I don't remember if that was a cold start, but the muffler itself is actually really muted, I will say that. The one thing I noticed is my old carbureted Kawasaki actually had more of a growl to it. I guess it has to do with the Euro 5 emissions bull crap. A lot of these mufflers are muted, but nevertheless, you know, it does its trick, and it'll probably get replaced as soon as I get a few miles under my belt and I decide which one I want. So anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed it, and hit me up if you have any questions or comments. Thanks for watching.